and let's talk some funny and hot political goss that's burbling up to the fore. So it's been it's been about 6 months now. So like all the books about the last days of like the downfall bunker era of the Trump administration have been written, and they're all coming out and they're being excerpted in various outlets. So I want to dig into two of them today. The first one is an excerpt from the book, "Frankly, We Did Win This Election: The Inside Story of How Trump Lost," which is a great title for a book. And both of these articles are very sort of like insidery accounts. Many of their sources are all the deeply compromised people, all the rats fleeing or clinging to the SS Trump as it circled the drain. So make of that what you will. They seem to confirm a portrait of the Trump White House and the people within it that will not come as a shock to listeners of this show, but there are some fairly funny details in there that I think is worth sharing. So the first one reads, headline here, this is from Business Insider, Trump frequently mocked Rudy Giuliani, calling him pathetic and said he sucked, new book says. Now, this is coming on the heels of Rudy Giuliani losing his license to practice law because of everything he did on behalf of Trump. And then Rudy's people are now, like, they're making a sort of counterclaim. They're demanding that Trump pay his legal fees. And I will give you any odds that will not happen. I'll give you a 1,000,000-to-1 bet that Trump will never, ever part with a dime to help Rudy Giuliani, despite the fact that, he's lost his legal license and could be facing, I don't know, is he facing criminal penalty for the shit he did? I don't know.
I don't think any of those guys are going to jail. Bygones be bygones.
Well, I mean, look, he's facing he's going to lose a lot of money. He's going to lose a lot of money in civil action.
If anyone could find a way, because we just really mostly don't send these guys to prison. People like Duke Cunningham, it's an IQ test. Duke Cunningham is in a rarefied company of federal level or national level figures who got sent to prison.
James Trafficant.
Yeah, Rudy is one of those special cases because do you remember when he there was that month where he kept butt dialing reporters and the stuff they heard on the other end was all right, how are we going to get more money from legal money from the United Arab Emirates? We need some more fucking money. It's he was on TV that one time during the impeachment proceedings when he was like, oh, don't worry, I have blackmail on Donald Trump in case he's mean to me. It's like he's been trying to get away from Andrew Giuliani. And he's been trying to go to prison.
It says here, according to the book, Trump told Giuliani he sucked and was weak after Giuliani defended him on TV amid fallout over the publication of the Access Hollywood tape. So, I mean, this isn't just because he was farting and bleeding on TV. This goes back all the way to 2008. Giuliani has been suffering Trump's abuse and apparently loving it the entire time. It says here, despite Trump's mockery, Giuliani was determined to remain close to the president, the book says. Rudy never wanted to feel left out, one aide told Bender, according to the Mail. If you were ever between Rudy and the president, look out. You were going to get trampled. Still, there were times when Trump defended Giuliani, the book says. At one point, the president's aides started complaining about how Giuliani's frequent television appearances were creating a public relations headache for the White House press shop. But Trump barked that at least Giuliani was out there fighting for him, Bender's book says. Everyone shut up after that.
See, that's all he needs. You just need one of those, and it makes up for 1,000,000 owns. That's the beauty of an abusive relationship. You just need to be nice once or twice, and then they'll be with you just as you're just wrecking their shit the rest of the time.
Giuliani was fighting for him, in the way that Edward Norton, fought for somebody when he was kicking his own ass in The Office and Fight Club.
I am Jack's smirking revenge.
It's the exact same thing.
What
Giuliani was doing on TV.
The portrait that emerges of Giuliani, though, is that I don't think he took Trump's abuse too seriously. And I think Giuliani's whole mindset is that as long as Trump is abusing me and insulting me and degrading me, then I'm in his inner circle and I have his attention, which is the most important currency that these people are really after. So that like dealing with his abuse is just like that's your ticket to the big dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the Trump, I remember the framing of this, and, like, for people who were obsessed with impeachment and shit like that during the Trump administration was, it's a crime syndicate. It's and I guess in, like, a very loose definition, yeah, sure. But, I mean, even the most slapdash fucking syndicate, whether it's, like, the mafia thing or whatever, is more organized than what the Trump thing was, which is just, like, a bunch of losers like jockeying for this old man's attention so he would like pardon their friend or like let them like lease a bridge. There was no like organized process to it. It was just like who can wave their hands in front of him the longest.
I mean, that portrait will emerge in the second excerpt I'm going to get to. But just real quickly to finish this one up, it says, on Thursday, a New York court suspended Giuliani from practicing law in the state after finding uncontroverted evidence that he communicated demonstrably false and misleading statements to courts, lawmakers, and the public at large about the 2020 election results. Nonpartisan election experts and cybersecurity professionals found that contrary to Giuliani's and Trump's claims of malfeasance, the 2020 election was the safest and most secure in U.S. history. The former New York mayor appeared on the conservative network Newsmax hours after the ruling came down and said he was not very happy about the suspension. All I can say is America is not America any longer, Giuliani added. We do not live in a free state. We live in a state that is controlled by the Democrat Party. And, you know, I'm sure he was upset about his home and office getting raided by the feds. But I find this, and I think we've mentioned this before, but I find this all just a delicious irony here, and that this is happening to Giuliani, the guy who made his bones using the federal RICO acts to fucking demolish the New York City, the five families, the Italian mafia in New York City.
Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, the Bronx. And that's a fist.
Where it's like, you'd think that this guy would know better than anyone that it doesn't take much, but if you get pushed to that other side of the line of which you're like no longer wanted, or you become a problem for the federal government, they can do whatever they fucking want to you with the legal system, and it's designed that way. So, Rudy, if you're just finding out we don't live in a free country now, welcome to the fucking party.
It'll be okay, though, because his horse-mouthed son is going to be governor of the state, and he's going to pardon him.
The Andrew Giuliani campaign bears close watching. I would like to get press credentials for his run for governor. We should do that.
I have
next
never
year.
seen anyone move their mouth that widely to speak. It's like he's like, remember when Michael Winslow, the wacky talking guy from Police Academy, would pretend to be Bruce Lee, being having a voiceover, and like he'd move his mouth really big. That's how Andrew Giuliani always talks.
You know,
he always sounds like he is doing a joke about being dubbed.
As you may have heard recently, a few minutes ago, my father's law license was suspended by the New York State First Appellate Division of the Supreme Court. Now, the 5 judges that ruled on it, all 5 of them are Democrats, 3 of which were appointed by Andrew Cuomo. 5-0, ultimately. Democrats with 0 Republicans on there. Again, this is just unbelievable to see just how politicized all of this has become.
You're right. It's like a dubbed movie, but like the words and his mouth movements sync up, which make it even stranger and more uncanny.
Very weird. I just want to put a carrot in his mouth every time I see him talk.
Give him a nice salt lick and some fresh hay.
He's gonna pardon his dad. He's gonna appoint his dad governor, and then he's gonna step down.
Some have.
You know what? I think that's like all these guys' strategies now. Is that they do like as much flagrantly unethical and illegal shit that they can while they're in power, and then if they lose it, or they're like the wolves are baying at the door, then they're just like, oh, I'm gonna get my fail son into office, and he's gonna pardon me. He's gonna call off the dogs.
It's a mirror of the design of the American city, where you just have to keep building shitty buildings forever.
Yeah.
As long as we keep having sons, and like. We could do this forever. I do like Andrew because he's like, I mean, with Don Jr., just like there's too much like noticeable sadness in his soul,
Yeah.
when he tries to like do the dumb shit his dad does. But Andrew is like easily has like the same type of stupidity that Rudy has. And there's this like Labrador like vacancy in him whenever you see him doing anything, doing any campaign shit.
You're right. Like he's got some, I don't know, he's got some oomph to him that Don Jr. doesn't have. You're right. Like Don
Yeah.
Jr. when he imitates his dad, there's a profound melancholy there that you can't escape.
Yeah, because you
Andrew-
can
yeah.
see the need. You can see that he's trying to get this approval from his dad. He never will. Whereas with Andrew, gosh darn it, he's just having a good time out there. Look at him out there.
And you know what? Like I'm just speculating here, but like we all know the story about how when Trump slapped Don Jr. in the face for not wearing a suit to the Yankee game. But you know what?
Yeah.
When Andrew Giuliani like does a campaign announcement and he's like, the Democrats in this state are waging war against my father. And I will stand to protect him. I think like when he gets home, like Rudy Giuliani puts a very sweaty hand on his back and goes, "You did good, son. I love you."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they have like I think they like do activities together. They like go to horrible cigar lounges.
Oh,
and,
God,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
wander around dog tracks, like whatever you would imagine those guys would do.
It's like
Like go to rug stores just to haggle and not buy anything.
Yeah, I'm just imagining Andrew, he's a loyal, dutiful son that he is, will often take it upon himself to mop down his dad's flop sweat. Just sort of dab his brow with an extra absorbent bounty or something.
I would say the difference between like Don Jr. and Andrew Giuliani is that like if Don Jr. knows nothing else, it's that he's not his father. Whereas Andrew, it's very possible he does not know that.
Well, he doesn't look anything like his dad. It's quite
he looks
odd.
nothing
He looks
like him,
absolutely
yeah.
nothing like his father.
He looks like Jake Busey.
Yeah.
Who needs a knife in a nuke fight anyway?
Yeah, like Rudy is very like sort of he's always looked like the gravity is really taking its toll on his face. It's like very Salvador Dali. Like everything's melting down. Andrew's like a very ruddy perky set of clay.
Oh my God. This is Salvador Dali. That is what Rudy's face is like. It's like the persistence of memory.
Yeah,
The persistence of embarrassment. That's
yeah, and Andrew is just like he has one of those like, you know, the big like Irish heads. that's
he's got
totally,
a big
like,
Irish potato
dough-like.
head. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess it's from the mom's side. It's got to be. But yeah, I've never seen a father and son look less alike than those two.
they look
other than of
nothing
course
alike.
Ronan Farrow and Woody Allen.
Yeah.
But there's an explanation for that. Okay. Next excerpt. This is a long one. This is an excerpt from Michael Wolff's new book called Landslide that's printed in New York Magazine. Now, Michael Wolff, I don't know if you guys remember him. He's this very like kind of smarmy, fish-faced.
Oh
kinda
yeah, that guy
DC.
for the Fire and Fury book. God
Yes,
damn it.
yes.
Yeah, long time
Jesus.
like New York. Well, before that, he was like a notorious like just New York media like
Remora.
the type of guy Donald Trump would call all the time.
Yeah, no,
God,
absolutely.
I'm just having a flashback to when that book was like a huge deal, and now it's like, oh yeah, remember that book? And like fuck, it's just the speed of everything just hit me. Like god damn.
What was
Like,
that book about? Was that about the Obama administration?
No,
or-
that was
No, it
about
was about Trump.
like the first 6 months of the Trump administration. It was
okay,
all
okay.
just like leaks of people talking about how like he farted during a meeting or something and blamed it on the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
yeah. It was That was like that book was it detailed a lot of like Bannon drama and shit. But yeah, before that, Michael Wolff was like. Yeah, I remember him as like sort of an early modern Twitter figure because he would like in like 2013 or so he would make a post. It's like, millennials are mad because they can't get a reservation at Waverly Inn.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
who the fuck's the audience for this?
I mean-
he's like he's a guy who would hang out with Lou Pearlsman. That's who he
Absolutely.
is.
I mean, yeah, he's this New York media like hagfish basically. But you know what? Like Trump and those people around him definitely talk to this guy. So like he knows how he knows how to fucking cultivate sources. So there's some very funny stuff in this new excerpt. So getting into that. Okay, I'm just going to start at the beginning. This is a very long article, so I don't have time to get into all of it. But let's just go through it. Seems like quite a few crazies, said the president. A little more than 3 weeks before rioters and revelers stormed the Capitol on January 6, several thousand Trump fans and fanatics gathered in Washington, D.C. There were the Proud Boys in elaborate dress, ZZ Top beards, and tie-dyed kilts. Enrique Tarrio, a Proud Boy organizer, got in line and took a public tour of the White House, who seemed to have appointed themselves Trump's protectors and vanguard, as the Hells Angels had once done for the Rolling Stones. Tarrio, he is the guy who was like a Fed, right?
Yes.
He was the Fed informant who was like arrested on an unrelated charge like the day before the Capitol riot took place. So they were just like, oh, now that you've instigated this whole thing, let's just sort of pluck you out of this pot and put you elsewhere. So when it goes down, you'll be free from legal ramification. So I did like that he took it upon himself to take a guided tour of the White House, though. That's nice. I mean, that's what you do when you're in D.C. It's a fun tourist thing to do. Have either of you guys ever done a tour of the White House?
No, never.
Matt?
I've done the Senate and House, but not the White House.
Just the basement where they keep the kids.
Okay. All right, going on here. It says, it's like let's make a deal, said Trump the next day to a caller, referencing the long-running game show from the 1960s. This is the day after the riot. Many of his references never left this psychic era, one which audience members dressed up in foolish costumes to get the attention of the host. I love that detail because it's so accurate that all of his pop cultural references are stuck in that era. Like he's just like many old people do, or many people past a certain age, but Trump especially. It's this very specific and once again very Queenie like era. Like he just loved Paul Lynde and Charles Nelson Riley on the fucking Match Game or whatever.
Yeah, he usually he'll have some allusions to modern things like the Kristen Stewart thing, but just like not the actual movies, just like the gossip.
Yeah, he loves the goss.
Yeah, his actual references to like movies and stuff, the farthest they can possibly go is about 1985.
Yeah, they're remaking Ghostbusters with a female cast.
So it goes here. The speakers at the December 12th event were themselves a retinue of former Trump attention seekers. Michael Flynn, the former general who had briefly served as Trump's national security advisor before being rolled out of office for lying to the FBI, had, after pleading guilty, reversed himself and abjectly reaffirmed his Trump loyalty, finally getting his pardon just days before the rally. Sebastian Gorka, a figure of uncertain provenance. I love that. A figure of uncertain provenance, because that's totally true. I mean, I very early, successful bit for us on the show, much all credit to James Adomian, but Gorka just came out of nowhere. I never, it's just one day, he's just this bellowing guy who's just talking about the alpha males are back in charge now.
yeah. He came out of the ether, and it's like if anyone, I think that one of us would have recognized him, but no, we had never seen this guy before.
No, and my fucking my mind palace is the library is just filled with fucking obscure media figures that I find funny or repellent.
I think they filled out a lot of the spots in that early administration from subreddits.
That's the only
you might not have heard of some of these people before that.
How would they have thought to get him?
I don't
where would you have seen him?
I mean, did he work on the campaign?
That's for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, he was. I think he was one of those national security advisors or something.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this, but
basically everybody who in the '60s would have cut out a classified ad in Soldier of Fortune and tried to fly to Rhodesia ended up in the White House.
No, that's exactly it. Yeah. Do you remember how his doctor was just a pillhead that he knew?
He's dead. He died, by the way. R.I.P. to a legend.
No, a different guy, Ronnie Jackson.
Oh, the guy. That was the. Yeah, but he wasn't just his doctor. He was a army doctor.
Yeah, no, he had like a
It's
pretty
like he had a
important
whole
position.
career, and then like as soon as Trump showed up, he's like, yeah, he actually he weighs 125 pounds.
Oh yeah, no.
he has
He has 8% body fat.
His
He has,
official, you pointed this out,
cholesterol's
Matt.
under 90.
The official body weight on like the Navy physician who has to do this officially for the president, the weight he was given on the physical that was released to the public, I think you pointed this out, Matt, was like 5 pounds shy.
It was
his
like
height
it was like 1 or 2. It was as high as it could be without technically being obese.
Yeah, according to BMI.
And then he got rewarded. They wanted to make him Surgeon General, and then he immediately got busted for like driving his car into the side of the White House and tried to just like offering interns pills.
Yeah,
Like he had a totally normal career, and then Trump shows up, and it's just like the beast is awoken within him.
That was awesome. That was an awesome Trump cycle.
I'm just having flashbacks to the early era of the Trump administration and Gorka. This was like Chapo Mark I. But do you remember the bit about how Gorka is brought on as like in part of the national security staff or whatever, but he couldn't get a security clearance because he still had a charge for trying to bring a gun on an airplane.
Yep.
So
Yes.
he had no security clearance to do his job, which is like all the job actually entails. So there were accounts of and he was in the White House for like 6 months before getting
Just
shipped hand
hanging
or leaving.
around.
And no, he was just hanging around. It was said that he would spend all day in the White House cafeteria watching things on TV that he would get mad at or tell the president about. He was just watching
And he would
Fox
pop into
News.
meetings
Yeah.
about like soil irrigation and just talk about when Napoleon was in Egypt.
Oh God, what a fucking guy. All right, going on here. A figure of uncertain provenance and function in the Trump White House during its first months was one of the early oddballs to be pushed out when John Kelly became chief of staff and had pursued a Trump-based media career ever since. Also speaking, My Pillow entrepreneur Mike Lindell, a former drug addict and current fevered conspiracy theorist. 4 people were stabbed and 33 arrested, most in the several-hour melee that took place after sundown. This was, in hindsight, a run-through. But it was also a pretty good insight into Trump's relationship to his army of supporters. The president often expressed puzzlement over who these people were with their low-rent trailer camp bearing and their, quote, get-ups, once joking that he should have invested in a chain of tattoo parlors and shaking his head about the great unwashed. I mean, what this confirms much of our observations about Trump is that nobody hates MAGA people more than Trump himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he kisses their ass and he plays to them because he knows that's his sweet spot. But Trump wants to look out over a sea at one of his huge rallies with 50,000 people, and he wants to see them all in evening fine dining evening attire, and he wants to see a crowd that's mostly made up of CEOs, celebrities, athletes, people of that caliber. Not the guys dressing in the tri-corner hats and looking goofy. It continues here. The fan base had always been peculiar to him. For most politicians, vox populi is a pretty remote concept, one brought home only with polling, press, and elections. Trump's regular and during some periods nearly constant performances at stadium rallies gave him a greater direct route and connection to his base than any politician in the modern television age. It was adulation on par with that of a pop star, a massive pop star. Quote, the only man without a guitar who can fill a stadium, he is likely to say about himself, and in another of his 1960s stuck references. Stars
that's not true at all. Kevin Hart could do that.
Yeah, Kevin Hart did MSG.
Yeah.
Probably sort of charismatic mega pastors and like Tony Robbins, Joel Osteen, people like that, motivational speaker guys. And also a lot of musicians today, they don't even play guitars. That's
true.
The rap style musicians.
Yeah, they're not as cool as Freddie Mercury, who played an instrument.
By dawn on January 6th, the crowd of the great unwashed was building, with the various organizers of the various events, each pulling in larger than expected numbers. From the perspective of the White House, the protest was still just background noise, a tailgate party before the main event. Vice President Mike Pence counting, and they hoped rejecting, the electors representing the final tally of the November vote that would begin at 1 p.m. The remaining group of aides around the president that morning in the White House was down to Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, Eric Hirschman, one of Trump's on-call lawyers, and Dan Scavino, his social media alter ego, with Jason Miller, Justin Clark, Alex Cannon, and Tim Murtaugh, the last employees from the campaign, either working from home or, in the case of Clark, heading into the Republican National Committee. All of them had woken with something close to the same thought. How is it going to play when the vice president fails to make the move the president is counting on him to make? And make no mistake, each fully understood Mike Pence was not going to make that move. Just as relevant, none of the 7 men had precisely told the president this. They, along with almost everyone else in the White House, as well as those who had slipped out, just wanted this to be over. Did these guys, again, morality aside, from their perspective, is it just not worth it to explain this to Trump? Is that it's just not worth it?
Talk about short-term thinking. What keeps you in the room? What the problem of next week can be solved next week. You don't want to cause problems for yourself now by telling him something he doesn't want to hear.
Yeah, but next week these guys would be out of a job. Was this just to stay in the room for another 48 hours?
Yeah. Yes. That's it.
Psycho.
We're staring down the barrel of apocalyptic destruction that is obviously the result of what we keep doing, but we keep doing it because there's no alternative. Because it's the only thing that we know, and it's the only comfort we have. And for these guys, being in the room with Trump is the only thing that matters. And making the effort to say something that's going to get you kicked out of there, because what's the benefit of that? It's like you're going to be out of a job anyway. Wouldn't you want to go down with the ship and be a loyal soldier?
Yeah, if you go down as a loyal soldier, there's some life after you or after this where you can, maybe get a show on Newsmax or OAN. There's enough payoff after that. If you go against it, it's how many fucking guys have made a big show about going against it? The last one is this guy Miles Taylor, Miles from Sonic, Miles T. Prowler, who it's you can only have so many Evan McMullins, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much. I mean, that was a lucrative thing at the start, but it's talk about media oversaturation. The principled guys who went up against Trump, there's probably more guaranteed payoff for going down as a loyal soldier, right?
And even even if you're not thinking that far ahead, you're thinking of what's happening to you in that very moment, and in that very moment, you don't want to get yelled at. You don't want to get called a loser.
And I think that a lot of the time I think grifter is one of those very overused words, which just now just means someone you don't like.
Yeah.
Because I think these guys kind of do have a carnival barker thing about them, but a lot of them do actually believe in this stuff and do believe in Trump. And there's some part of them that's okay, this is fucked now, but he's definitely going to win next time for some reason. So I have to keep on his good side.
All right, there's a great detail in this next paragraph. This was not an uncommon feeling in the final days of the Trump presidency. There was the world within shouting distance of the Oval Office, privy to the president's monologues, his catalog of resentments, agitation, desires, long-held notions, stray information, and sudden inspirations with little practical relationship to the workings of government. And then there was the more normal world beyond that. Early in Trump's presidency, aides noted that a second-floor office where the likes of Stephen Miller and Kellyanne Conway worked meant a degree of exclusion, but also protection. Trump would never climb the stairs, and by the end of his term, he never had. What an amazing physical specimen. The smart ones, Kellyanne Conway and Stephen Miller, not at all coincidentally, the two people who lasted the entire 4 years of Trump's White House, which is had a turnover rate higher than fucking, I don't know, substitute teacher or whatever. They were protected from his whims by a staircase because he literally couldn't yell. They couldn't hear him if he was yelling, and that he would not. Okay, here's a good question. Remember there's that thing where Trump had trouble walking down that ramp on the campaign trail and everyone made fun of him? When's the last time you think Trump walked up a flight of stairs? Just one floor, from the first floor to the second floor of a building?
It's been decades, I would imagine.
I
Like,
would
he would
say
take the elevator every time.
I would say maybe like 2004.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't see him doing it after that. But I think that was the last year where it's like, okay, I think I can take this one on. And then it's like every year that you don't do it, it becomes more difficult to the point where you're just like, all right, I'm done with that part of my life.
I mean,
stairs were a big part of my childhood. They're not a big part. They're not a big part of my adult life.
You know, when one grows up, one must put away childish things, including
Like
stairs. You know, we've speculated before that Trump is going to live like another 20, 30 years probably. He's probably going to croak at like 101 or something. But I think like the only thing that could, you know, fuck that up is a staircase. Like I think like all of the sort of the HP that he channels to keep his life going will be negated. They'll get buffed by a single staircase, and then he'll just collapse dead immediately.
Yeah, I mean, everyone made fun of that thing where he was like, the human body has a finite amount of energy and it's bad for you to work out. But it's like, that's true for him. I think at this point, that's definitely true. And I think like, how much does he move around a day? He probably like, if you put like a Fitbit on him or something, you'd record what, like 40 steps? Maybe.
Oh my God. Felix, they should get Trump a Fitbit that just counts steps overall. Like it doesn't reset at the end of the day. And he has realistically 10,000 steps left in his life. And it's like a countdown clock to when he's going to die. So
but that's 10,000 over 40 years for sure.
Yeah.
Like he's going to find a way to go under budget on
but
that.
But if he averages 6 or 8 a day, then he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah. Okay, think about it. Like wakes up, like gets like, you know, goes to the bathroom and like, you know, I don't know how he like pisses or shits. Like there's probably like there's a pellet of piss that comes out of his body, like a long thin pellet, like the graphite in a mechanical pencil, and it just like comes out. It's just like solid. God. It looks like you put you like it looks like a popsicle of gravy that he just pulls out.
God damn it!
And he gets done. He like does all his like beauty shit, and then he like
puts his face on.
Yeah, puts his face on. He goes to where he like eats his meals and like signs birthday cards for like racist plastic surgeons. And that's like what? That's like probably 20 steps, maybe.
Yep.
And then it's like you could put maybe 10 more in for the rest of the day. That's 30 times 365. Yeah, no. I mean, he's going to have to bring the daily steps down from like, you know, 40 to 20 to live another 40 years. But I think he can do it.
Yeah, I believe in him.
Yeah.
All right, continuing. To the degree that Trump had for 4 years been running the government with scant idea of the rules and practices of running the government, he was now doing it virtually without anybody who did have some idea and desire to protect both him and themselves from embarrassment or legal peril. Jared Kushner was, to his own great relief, in the Middle East wrapping up what he saw as his historic mission, his peace deals. I love the way that's shaken out. But moving on, because the president had all but banished the White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, who was grateful to be banished, and was speaking instead to Hirschman. Hirschman, believing he understood how to move the president, tended to offer objections that sounded awfully like the plaudits of a yes man. Kayleigh McEnany had been strategically missing in action for several weeks. The remaining campaign officials, Jason Miller, Clark Cannon, tended to be merely on the receiving end of Trump's calls and opinions, and everybody else was effectively cleared out. White House wags noted that Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin had fled as far as Sudan, where he was negotiating a good behavior economic pact with the former terrorism-sponsored nation to get his distance from the last election grasp. That is... Mnuchin fucked off to Sudan. He went to Sudan to avoid having anything to do with this shit.
I love him. He's like, yeah, what a soldier Steve was.
He was the verbal Kent of the administration.
Yeah.
He was Kaiser Soze walking off into the sunset.
Into the Sudan sunset.
Yeah.
With Louise Linton at his side, partner in crime, Bonnie and Clyde.
Well, she was probably making Me You Madness while he was in Sudan.
Yeah. The one person Trump did have at his side, Rudy Giuliani, was drinking heavily and in a constant state of excitation, often almost incoherent in his agitation and mania. That's why Rudy never struck me as a drinker. He always came across as something of a teetotaler to me. But I mean, I guess that explains his sweatiness as of late. Is just got the booze sweats that he's dabbing his brow constantly to sop up that Jameson or whatever.
It's easy to get confused because that world has so many guys who are like, I've never touched a drop of alcohol, and it's like they just don't drink, like maybe due to a medical reason or whatever. Like guys who have committed like literally hundreds of sexual assaults who are like, I don't have vices, but they think that's true because they don't drink, and like it's easy to get it conflated. But like Rudy. I mean, I think one of the only ways you can get that face is by like being a binge drinker.
Yeah. Almost everyone who remained around the president understood that he, along with Giuliani, did in fact actually believe there was yet a decent chance of upsetting the electoral count and having Trump declared the Electoral College winner, or failing that, prolonging the election and returning the fight to the disputed states. The president's aides and family understood too that that he was the only one, along with Giuliani, which made the situation more alarming, in any professional political sphere to believe this. Hence, they did not call it such and tried to see it as more nuanced, quote, derangement. So the more nuanced understanding is that Trump has lost his fucking marbles. There had been hardly a waking hour in the past 48 during which he and Giuliani had not been on the phone in pent-up nervousness and excitement over the coming battle in Congress on January 6th. They were two generals poring over a map of the battlefield. Both men egged on by hypotheticals ever nearer to fantasy, and after exhausting all other options, had come to take it as an article of faith that the vice president could simply reject Biden electors in favor of Trump ones and thereby hand the election to Trump, or falling short of that, the vice president could determine that a state legislature ought to give further consideration to possible discrepancies in the state's vote and send it back to the question electors for a reconsideration of their certification. There's no question, none at all, that the VP can do this. That's a fact. The Constitution gives him the authority not to certify. It goes back to the state legislatures, said Giuliani, as though on a loop. He kept repeating this to the president and to the others who were part of a continual conversation on the cell phone. Yes. Here's the thing. Hold on a second. Hey, let me get back to you. The president, in his own loop, kept similarly repeating this back to Giuliani, and they both similarly repeated this to everyone else with such an insistent determination that it overrode any opportunity to disagree with them or even engage in conversation. Throughout, they continued to weigh the odds that the vice president would come along, sometimes 50-50, sometimes as much as 60-40, and even somewhat more. At the grimmest, 30-70, but always a solid shot. Now, this goes back to the thing we were talking about earlier about like why these people, even though knowing full well that there was no chance that he was going to, pull this off, continued to flatter him just to be in the room with him for another 2 minutes. This question about Pence, and they're all doing odds for themselves on if he's going to come through or not. I understand the president and the vice president, like in any administration, are not that close, and they don't spend that much time together. But is there any reason Trump couldn't have just asked Mike Pence what he was planning to do on January 6th so that it didn't come as a surprise to him? And I think the answer to that, I mean, maybe there's other reasons or you could speculate about, but I think the answer for that is that he knew full well himself that there was no chance of this. And the true believers around him knew in the back of their mind the exact same thing. And they just didn't want... They avoided actually asking the one person they were laying odds on his behavior because, I mean, he's the vice president. It's like his job to respond to questions from the president about what he will or won't do. They just didn't seek to confirm it because they wanted to keep this fantasy going for themselves.
And I mean, like, it could also be like you don't want Pence to like testify that you personally asked that or whatever. But like, I mean, I think with this whole thing, like I do like, as trashy as it is, I do like these accounts because the Hitler comparisons are so overwrought and stupid for so many reasons. But like, this is so downfall. But if Hitler was like, okay, like after all the fantasy is dispelled, like you go kill yourself. I'm going to go back to Florida. You kill yourself. Bye. Like, just without the self-sacrifice of Hitler. Like, all right. I guess it's done. I guess we lost. I'm gonna go. Make 40 steps a day for the next 40 years of my life, and you're in trouble. Hey, I tried my best. Tough shit. Like, it is great. Yeah, he just left everyone to do all this shit. And like when he goes, like when he's telling Giuliani, "I'll get back to you," what do you think he was getting back to? Like, what do you think was cutting in between the call? Like, either like just some bullshit, like, hey, like I gave $250,000 to your inauguration, or PAC supporting you. Can you like send a postcard to my 170-year-old aunt? Yeah, sure. Or like just literally probably just scrolling.
There's a lot in this article. It goes through like basically an hour-by-hour account of what was going on in the White House on January 6th. But I'm just going to jump ahead now to this part. This is after like this is as shit was going down in the Capitol and like in real time, and they were all wondering what to do. It says here, the debate about putting the president out there to say something calming, continued for as much as an hour. There were three views: that he must, as fast as possible, say something. It was getting serious, though no one yet was seeing this as the defining moment of his presidency. His own view was that he should say nothing. It was not his fault or responsibility, and he certainly didn't want to give a speech that might imply was. And lastly, that anything he said, instead of helping to address the problem, might well make matters much worse, as it did when he was forced to make a speech condemning the racist protesters in Charlottesville. Aides put in front of the president two suggested tweets written in Trump's voice, which they hoped he might accept. The first one reads, "Bad apples like Antifa or other crazed leftists infiltrated today's peaceful protest over the fraudulent vote count. Violence is never acceptable. MAGA supporters embrace our police and the rule of law and should leave the Capitol now." Second tweet that was suggested: "The fake news media who encouraged this summer's violent and radical riots are now trying to blame peaceful and innocent MAGA protesters for violent actions. This isn't who we are. Our people should head home and let the criminals suffer the consequences." Trump either rejected them or ignored them. Other than Dan Scavino, Trump didn't like anyone else writing his tweets. I mean, I'm surprised he even let Scavino do it. I mean, the man's a true poster. And I got to say, once again, phrase for the day, morality aside, Trump's instincts about not doing anything were, from his perspective, the correct one. I mean,
Yeah.
it got him this far.
No, yeah, his instincts usually pretty dead on.
Well, because like what these people are bred to think is cover your ass. You have to say something so that you will not be remembered poorly in history. But that's just nerd shit. That's just another way for the fucking hall monitors to spook you. If you really don't, if the only way to truly be free and to operate as a political wild card and to benefit from it the way Trump did is if you just do not give a shit what they have to say. And the second you start caring is the second that you're broken, which is why a guy like Ted Cruz will never fill the shoes. I mean, remember when he was in he fled the cold snap in Texas to go to fucking Mexico, and then as soon as they found him, he just came back immediately
And said that he was just going there to drop his family off.
I was escorting my daughters there, like I'm fucking Liam Neeson in Taken or something, and I was gonna come back anyway. And it's like he did that because a bunch of people were in his ear saying, "Oh, you gotta do control on this." And those people are always the people you should listen to least because they're totally captured by this thing that all these people are convinced is what moves the needle. But if you're a guy like Trump and you're not beholden to the media narratives to push you as a personality, you can and should completely fucking ignore.
Yeah, a comm shop person is always going to want you to make more comms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You do
Just
your
like
own
how
comms.
you
You
just
don't
how
need
you
these people.
just how if you ask a building developer how to run a city, guess what he's going to say?
Yeah.
All right, I'm skipping ahead to the end of the article here because it contains a lovely and charming portrait of the home life of my good friend Jason Miller. So let's just dive into here. It says, Jason Miller, at home in Arlington, was lying stupefied in bed with his wife, watching video loops of the day over and over again and hoping there was a plan. I mean, that's nice. That's nice, isn't it? Just lying in bed with your wife that you love so much. I mean, good for him. I
would never cheat on her, do anything to make her feel bad.
He's like, that's in the past. He's a better man now. He's learned a lot, and like I said,
he's grown.
And I wish him all the best in the future.
Yeah, no. Many culinary treats.
But no one called. At 9 p.m., he got out of bed, opened his laptop, and started to write a statement. A statement, the considered language of politics, the true Mandarin's language, was an indication of ongoing business. This meant doing what Trump had refused for the past 64 days to do, acknowledge that Joe Biden would inevitably be the next president. There was not going to be an abject or contrite Trump or even a formally defeated one. It was necessary to skip over the fairness of the election and to skip over the Trump-told narrative. The election, in his mind, would remain stolen, forever stolen. This statement could certainly not be the official belated concession, at least not to Trump, but it had to establish acceptance, a fait accompli, and put Trump's stamp on the new, if disagreeable, reality. Miller was trying to get the headline, the cry and roll, the message from Trump that something had changed. Orderly transition. Not exactly the torch passing and hardly a round of applause for democracy in action. That was as far as the president could be moved. He called Kushner and read him the draft. Will you call the president? Kushner smoothly pushed Miller into the fray. Miller called Meadows, still in the White West Wing, and then the president. The president seemed eager to hear from Miller, eager to be on the phone. Most often for Trump, the phone was a one-way instrument. Callers listened. How bad is this? Trump asked. A stark difference from his usual opener. How are we doing? Which was not ordinarily a question at all, but a preface to Trump saying how well everything was going. That's a great little detail about Trump that I find very telling. It's just, how's it going? And then you open your mouth to start saying how you're going. And that's great. So anyway, let me tell you, things are wonderful here. They're going fantastic. We're doing better than anyone's ever done before. Mr. President, today is literally going to change everything. This looks terrible. This is really bad. Who are these people? These aren't our people. These idiots with these outfits, they look like Democrats. Hold on. Our great first lady is here. And Trump switching to speakerphone. So I don't want to say I feel sympathy for Jason Miller, but just like think about him in this situation where you're the last man standing and it falls on you to have to craft a statement that is the first ever concession to reality. And you're calling Trump about it. And he's like, hold on, I've got a great first lady on the line. Could you just, I'm putting you on speaker right now. Melania wants to say something to you. She says here, Jason, said the great first lady with a sharp note, the media is trying to go and say, this is who we are. We don't support this. That's what we have to make clear, said Miller, relieved that the president and the first lady were seeing the protesters as bad guys rather than good guys and not a mix of the two. Pushing through, Miller told the president and first lady that he had just gotten off the phone with Kushner and Meadows and that they had a proposal for later that evening if Biden reached an electoral majority. He went into reading the statement draft. The president suggested peaceful transition instead of orderly. Miller said that called attention to the fact that it wasn't peaceful now and might not be peaceful. Orderly, Miller did not say, suggested not just an absence of disruption, but that all the aspects of government would pass as they should to a new administration. Peaceful put it in someone else's hand. Orderly meant cooperation, too. The Trump White House would cooperate with the incoming Biden White House. It wasn't just the protesters who needed to stop. Trump needed to extend himself, too. After all, it wasn't just that the recount effort and the election challenge behind the protests, but Trump's personal intransigence. Trump seemed to appreciate this now, to walk back even. The media thinks I'm not going to leave, said the president. Do they really think that? That's crazy. It's crazy. How did so many people get this idea? And it's just, and this is all hinging, all of it, on this idea that Mike Pence would just come through and just be like, yes, the Constitution gives me the authority to make Donald Trump president. And he had been saying, I mean, they don't, I don't know. I mean, maybe he wasn't saying it, but like literally everyone who supported him in the media was saying exactly that.
Yeah.
Hey, and maybe he would have, and then that would have been great. And then he didn't. Hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'll be at Mar-a-Lago if you need me.
Jumping ahead here, it says, this is over, Miller thought. This is the end of the road. I'm just going to refrain from commenting further on the end of Jason Miller's road. Of all the news outlets, only Fox had never gotten back to him. Even Fox, Miller accepted, was truly over Trump. Scavino could not use only his personal Twitter account to finally, at 3:49 a.m., get out the president's statement. I forgot that they got out Trump's tweet at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That fucking rules. They're like, it's sort of like, if you're up late, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on Twitter. Time zones aside, you're like, can I get away with this retweet? It's pretty spicy. And then you're like, yeah, no one's up. Who cares? So it goes here. If this was an attempted putsch, it had not only failed, but shown its leader to be almost a random participant in it, without method or strategy. Disorder had always been his element, and now it was his followers too. But he was not so much with them as alone in his own rebellion and desires, a bubble of grievance that somehow floated apart from the actual events, even events that were meant to make real the president's own delusions. So that's the end there, and I like the bit at the end where where he says, if this was a putsch, it had failed, but it was a putsch in which the president was just sort of an observer and not a participant. And that's not, again, I think that may be soft selling Trump's role in this to a certain degree, but it does just, he said all this shit on TV, believing Christ knows what, and then watch the outcome of it on TV like everyone else did, seemingly as baffled as everyone else was as to what was going on or why it was happening.
That was how he governed for 4 years, so it makes sense that that's how he would have treated that moment. That was his whole thing of being president, was just watching himself be president. So why would he ever change that? He never grasped the idea that he was supposed to actually be doing anything, because he's never done anything. His entire career before that was just, you go into a room and you shake a guy's hand and you say you're very excited, and then that's it. Something happens elsewhere. You don't actually do anything. People are behind your back using your brand to launder money, but you're not actually involved in any of that.
Yeah, so I thought both of those are fairly telling recountings of the downfall bunker last days of the Trump administration, which, once again, does comport to all of our previous observations about his conduct vis-a-vis the January 6th riot.